Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this young lady back. Proud to call her my friend. She was a big, big motivating factor yesterday in that election. It is the incredible Megyn Kelly. Megyn, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you, Joe?
It's a great day in America, isn't it?
I'm so thrilled. I can't even begin to describe. I just feel so incredibly hopeful and optimistic. And I even feel hopeful and optimistic for our leftist friends, because I think they're in for a world of wonder with Donald Trump. I think he's going to change their lives too, so much for the better. They're going to realize that their worst fears about him are all BS. And I really think with this team of superheroes he's going to be bringing into the administration, our finest days are ahead of us. When was the last time we felt like that? I'm thrilled.
It's been a long time. I'm older than you by a lot, I think. But I remember when Ronald Reagan took over from the malaise of Jimmy Carter, it was the same sort of feeling. But we didn't have social media and the left-wing media like we have today. The View today, I don't know if you saw any of this, but they were deriding social media. We got to go after Elon Musk. We got to go after Fox News, and we got to go after, just down the line of how horrible it is. And Joy Behar, for God's sakes, is out there the one leading the charge as everybody else is going, yes, we've got to regulate everything. Megyn, are they going to wake up to the fact that this was a massive mandate in that he wins the popular vote by millions of votes? He wins the Electoral College very, very easily. She didn't even show up to give a speech last night. I mean, this is, it should be an awakening for them. Will it be?
No. They'll have a couple of days of soul searching like we saw this morning on MSNBC.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably return to being, hashtag the resistance like we saw first time around. Now, I don't know how vicious it will be, because they're a little bit more used to Trump. But I think we can expect 10 out of 10 viciousness. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. You heard of a moment of soul searching because this is such a rebuke of the Democratic Party and what they've been saying to voters. But if history is any guide, they'll just keep doing it. They'll just keep doubling down on their divisive identity politics and policies and go after Donald Trump because they think he's Hitler, supposedly. We'll see. And then when we get a little closer to actually having midterms and then having the next presidential election, they'll pretend they're moderates and they'll try to stop saying the most controversial things and try to fool people into voting for them again, probably with equal results.
Right. It didn't work this time, but I think they had a really bad candidate too. It's Megyn Kelly, the incredible Megyn Kelly, MegynKelly.com. Check out the Megyn Kelly Show every single day on Sirius XM Radio. And also on YouTube. You're blowing up on YouTube like crazy. I love it. Everybody needs to go in and consume what you do. Let's go back 10 years, Megyn Kelly. You asked the question 10 years ago, and then 2 nights ago, you had me welling up watching you campaign at a rally for Donald Trump. Is that not full circle?
It's totally full circle. What a fun, weird, challenging, interesting story arc President Trump and I have had. And I'm fine with that. I feel like somehow it feels like destiny. I don't know why or how exactly or whether I was meant to play some sort of role in any of this, but I do feel like it's destiny. From that question on the debate stage and the contentious relationship that followed to coming full circle last night or 2 nights ago, just kind of, not to sound weird, but like the hug between us and my understanding of him now. It's just so different. And I was thinking about this. I love the movie Sense and Sensibility and the book and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I've read the books many times. And there's a line in the Pride and Prejudice book where she says, "Oh, I see him so differently now." But in that case, it's romantic, and I'm not trying to draw that parallel. But that is how I feel. I just see him so differently now. I just don't think I understood Trump at all in the beginning years. And I have a full understanding of him now.
Well, was it a matter of learning who the man was compared to who the character was? We all saw him as a caricature for 50 years in this country. Then suddenly when you get to know the guy, like when I met him, he said, "You know my boys, right? You're friends with my boys." And then he gave my daughter, who I had there, my executive producer, a hug. He was just a guy. I mean, that changed for me that way. Was it the same for you?
I think it was more that he and I, it's not that we got off on the wrong foot because we had a good relationship for a couple of years prior to that debate. But my first real, big public interaction with him was the debate. And then he was coming after me, publicly for 9 months. So I didn't like him. I mean, it wasn't much more complicated than that. I was like, please stop that. So he kind of alienated me that way. But to be perfectly honest, Joe, I didn't take full responsibility for the fact that I had antagonized him into doing that. Now, I do think the reaction was disproportionate, but I had a role in it. And with the passage of time, I accept my role in it. I'm not sorry for my role in it. That's what a journalist does. But I understand he was attacking MK the brand, not MK the woman, the person. and was able with some time to just put all that nonsense behind me. And he was too, and I was grateful for it. And we've just gone on to have a good relationship. So, and the more I've watched him, the more I've been impressed and the more I admire him and the more I'm outraged at how he gets treated by a dishonest media and left that is out to truly destroy the man in every way.
It's our friend Megyn Kelly, MegynKelly.com. Go and take in the Megyn Kelly show every day, Monday through Friday. When you interviewed Steve Bannon, or he interviewed you, whatever happened, when you guys spoke, and I just had him on the other day, it turns out, Megyn, I'm really big at the Danbury prison. They love my show in the prison.
What?
I had no idea. Oh, they love me. They get their news from Joe Pags.
Hi, guys. I hope you're feeling okay. Hang in there.
Well, that's what Steve told me. So was it a sense of relief when he said, we had to take you out? You were the biggest, baddest thing that was possibly in the way of him getting into the White House. Was that a sense of relief? Was it a sense of empowerment? Did it make you reflect on things?
No, it wasn't a relief. It was interesting. Steve Bannon
Did you know
is
that?
a magic man.
Yes.
I did come to see with time what Steve Bannon had been doing, what the guys at Breitbart had been doing. And, they were worse than Trump was, for sure. So
Yes.
if I had a lingering resentment, it was towards those guys. It took me much longer to make up, if that's the right word, with Steve than it did with Trump. But I'm so glad that that resentment is gone because I really admire him. Steve Bannon is a warrior. He's so effective at what he does. He's a great guy, actually. He's super kind. He can fight dirty, and we need that. Look how the left, they're putting our people in jail. But I really actually admire his strategy, how smart he is, how thoughtful he is. He's actually very quick to compliment his enemies on their skills.
Right.
He's a very thoughtful guy. So I'm much happier being in a place with him where I can understand his mind and the way it works as opposed to being on the wrong end of it. And he too, I see in a very different light these days than I used to.
The amazing Megyn Kelly, follow her everywhere. Let me ask you about what happened after 2016. President Trump was asked by somebody, it might have been you, I'm not sure who asked this question, but right after he wins, they said, will you go after Hillary and Bill Clinton now? And he said, no.
Oh, I didn't ask that.
Right, well,
I wouldn't ask. I never believed that nonsense.
No, I didn't either. Because we've seen him win before and then become friends with Lion Ted and Little Marco. He'll name call and then bring you into the team. But when that question was asked, he said, no, let's all come together. Let's move on. Let's move past it. It's like the prize fighter won the prize. He won the fight. He did not want to continue fighting once he got into the locker room. It was over. I've won. Or they won. Whatever. He saw it as a competition, but what happened then was Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Obamas, everybody went after this guy mercilessly, as you know, down the line for all these years now. Does he have to do it differently now? Does he have to fight back now that he's getting the job back?
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to be magnanimous. I think he's feeling the love that the country showed him last night, and that obviously a very hefty majority feels toward him in this country. And that's the relationship he's going to nurture. I think he's going to enact the policies that he said he would enact. I don't think he's going to do anything like try to throw enemies in jails. I think he was saying that stuff like, I could do this to you as a way of threatening them and reminding them of what our core values should be. I would be shocked if President Trump tries to do any of that. And I also think you have to build in a fair amount of like exaggeration into Trump's rhetoric and wishful thinking, wish casting. He's not actually going to do this stuff. He's just like, I could and I might. And it's kind of like a form of release for him. I would be stunned if he actually tries to do anything along those lines with the DOJ.
You talked about the team around him, which is you, not that you're in the administration, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you've got Sage Steele is out there, you've got Dana from, I can't think of his last name right now, from the UFC, you've got Joe Rogan, you've got, exactly right, Dana White, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, you've got these people surrounding him that the last time he ran, when he won in 2016, were not on his side. How did he do that? How did he make that happen? Did they wake up to realize that the Democrat Party was no longer what it used to be, or did he do something to make this happen?
I think it kind of goes back to a question I asked him at that first debate, or maybe it was the second debate, not the famous one or infamous, depending on your POV.
Right.
But I remember asking him about some of his more left-leaning policies and saying, when did you become a Republican? Like, you don't seem like a Republican.
Right.
And I think the truth is Trump is not really a Republican at heart, like the old school Republican.
Yeah.
Just look at his stance on trade, right? he's a very different kind of sounding Republican. Even that Republican Party of when he first threw his hat in the ring was working on an amnesty bill. I mean,
Yes.
Trump is not in favor of anything looking like amnesty. And I also think he's pro-choice. He won't say it, but I think he's pro-choice. He understood that to run as a Republican, you'd have to say that you were pro-life and you'd have to like push pro-life justices and policies, which he
Right.
did. Okay, so I think all of that is relevant because Trump is more moderate. And so even though he speaks bombastically and calls attention to himself in that way and he's controversial, if you can just push that to the side, like try not to pay attention to the actual words or the language or like the triggers rhetorically, you can see his policies are not far right at all. And so he would be attractive to a disaffected Democrat like Tulsi or a more moderate independent like Elon
Yes.
or myself for that matter.
Right.
I'm not surprised at all that a Democrat like RFKJ, who was treated terribly by his own party and felt the ground shifting underneath him with their policies already, that now they're so pro-war and they're pro-censorship, might take a look at a candidate like Trump. The only requirement would be that you be able to see through the rhetoric and the media lies about him.
And they did. I think they were all smart enough, including you. You're all very smart to understand. He had to do that because he's a showman. But if you get all that out of the way, the policies work for the vast majority of Americans. And as Ben Carson always says, a rising tide raises all boats. Megyn, thanks for finding time for my audience and for me today. You're incredible. What I saw on stage the other day was just a wonderful person who understood growing as you go through this business like you and I have, means you can stand on the stage with a guy that you had basically fisticuffs with 10 years earlier and make perfect sense. I loved it. It really did well me up, and I'm so glad that we're friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Pags. And I have to say credit to Trump, too, for being in the same space emotionally. He definitely could have held a grudge against me, but we were two grown-ups and we're working toward a common goal, and I wish nothing but unbridled success for him in this next term.
You and I both, from your mouth to God's ears. Megyn, thanks a million for coming on today.
All right, see you soon, my friend.
All right. We're back after this. Stay right here.